You might notice that we are not live right now, and that is because we're still taking a break right now for the holidays. Thanks for jumping on. Today we have an excellent interview that I'm so excited to do. This person is just so awesome, and it was just such a blessing to be able to talk to them. So definitely check this out. But next week we will be live again. If you're watching this on the replay, we're probably live Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern, so definitely check it out. With all that, we're going to dive right into it. All right, so for everybody that hasn't had a chance yet to get to know you, what's your name? Tell us about your cybersecurity journey to this point as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Ireti Oluwakewele. I'm known as Ireti Mrs. AK on Twitter. Cybersecurity, I'll start by saying that I got into cybersecurity in 2013 when I traveled to the UK for my master's. I studied information security and computer forensic, and that was where the journey started for me. It was a transition. I had a bit of IT background, but my background was basically management information systems, meaning I did courses in both business side of things and IT. So cybersecurity was totally new to me at that time because I'd never heard of security management or never gone deep into a whole lot of things, network security and things like that. So the journey started for me at that time. I finished in 2014. My graduation was in November 2014. So at December, I traveled back to my home country, Nigeria. And the interesting thing was that I was already having conversations with people while I was still in the UK about getting a job. So when I got back to Nigeria, one of the person I was talking to, he asked for my CV. He submitted it in a company where he was working at that time. And because even in Nigeria at that time, cybersecurity was not yet a big thing. A lot of people just do more of IT and then just a few support and then when it comes to security. So he submitted my CV and like a week after I was called for an interview. I attended the interview and by the next week, I was called for the second stage. I went in, I did well, and just by the second day after the second stage, I already got the job. And that was how my journey started fully. I got in as a senior analyst for that role. And I was basically doing governance, risk, and compliance. That's the GRC aspect of cybersecurity. But it was a good experience for me because I had the opportunity to meet different people. I was always on client sites, working on different projects and things like that. My journey in that organization ended a year after. I decided to move on to another consulting organization. This time around, a company that is known worldwide, Deloitte. So I got into Deloitte and it was really, really interesting because I had the opportunity to do bigger things. I had more travel to do and all of that. So I spent some time there, did what I had to do. And again, I moved on. So my career has been very funny because I've been jumping. I'm not the type that would have worked in an organization for 4 or 5 years. I've never worked in any organizations for 4 years as it is. So I've been moving around in my journey. So I moved to Deloitte. After a while, I moved again. So this time around, I left consulting. I stopped everything that had to do with consulting and moved to take a job as an information security manager in the industry, just to have another feel of now I'm going to be like the client. So I want to see the feel from the industry perspective. So I got in there and I started my journey in the industry and things like that. After a while, I moved out of Nigeria completely. I moved to the Republic of Ireland to seek more opportunities over there. But this time around, I didn't move to consulting or to industry. I decided to do my own thing. And moving to Ireland helped me because I became more pronounced. I started encouraging people, mentoring people. I had a lot of free time in my hands because I was practically working for myself. So I felt that it was an opportunity for me to motivate more people, get more people to do cybersecurity. I see that the demand is very high. It's always a case of a demand and supply. So the organizations they now know that there's a need for cybersecurity, but there's still this gap. They don't have a lot of people to fill in that gap because cybersecurity, like we all say, is more like an extension of IT. You can have the IT skills and all of that, but if you don't have that security component, you may not know how best to protect your IT, your technology and things like that. But if you have that security components, you may have a better understanding of how to protect your technology. So I started encouraging people, get into cybersecurity, I would mentor you. So this year, in March this year, I started a mentoring program. I selected some people on Twitter, about, I think 20 to 30 people, started mentoring for them. What I did, some other people came on board. We had the GRC side of things that they were taught. We had the technical side that they were taught. And then some of them, they branched out to do some other things. Some other people that were part of that mentoring program, they got, I mean, we continued after the mentoring. I started internship again. Some of them came on board for that internship, and then they were able to apply. So some of the first things that they learned during training, they were not able to apply the concept in real life to see how it is done. I mean, and it was just like an opportunity. So I have a case of someone that was part of the internship. The only knowledge of cybersecurity he has is from the master's perspective, and then from training, taking reading resources, doing certifications, but never had a real life experience. But after going through the internship, he updated his CV and he updated his LinkedIn. Immediately, he updated his LinkedIn to show that he had done something in cybersecurity. Boom, recruiters started reaching out to him. Every week, they started sending him mails. We saw your profile. Can we schedule an interview? And then he got to a point. He started talking to me. I have interview in a week. He could have done maybe like 3 interviews in a week. I have interview today, I have interview tomorrow, and all of that. And before you knew it, by the time the job came for him, he had 2 offers practically. And then we started deciding which one are you going to go for at this time. We looked at the money, we looked at other factors, and then we said, okay, go for this. So this is just a case of someone that's never had an experience, but this is what the experience did and changed his life. So I'm someone that I preach cybersecurity, not because I can as well decide not to. It doesn't take anything away from me, but then I've seen that doing it has helped a lot of people. People come into my DM. I saw one opportunity that you retweeted. I applied for it and I got it. I mean, just by the power of social media, people come to me, I need advice. I want to study cybersecurity. What do you think? And things like that. I've been able to put a lot of people on the path, advise them, post tweets on career paths that you can do. A lot of people say the only thing they understand about cybersecurity is hacking. And I tell them there's more to cybersecurity than hacking. Hacking is just a piece of it. I mean, if you are good with storytelling, you don't even need to know how to hack, and you'll be very good in what you do. There are some people that will never hack in their lifetime. They will never hack, but they will still get to the top of their career, and they will still be able to say that they do cybersecurity. If they understand storytelling very well, they know how to present thoughts, they know how to train, they know how to train people, they know how to manage stakeholders. Basically, they don't really need to even hack before they say that they're a cybersecurity professional. Then some other people say, oh, I can't code. Will I do fine? Will I do well? I don't code. So without coding, yes, you can still do cybersecurity, because I know a lot of people keep asking, I can't write scripts, I can't automate things. Will I be good in cybersecurity? I can't review codes. I don't know what remote code execution is all about and all of that. Will I do well in cybersecurity? Yes, that's the answer, because not everyone will code. And you don't need to feel less of yourself if you don't know how to code or if you don't code, because there's no greater person in the cyber security field. There's nothing like, because this guy is a badass hacker, is definitely greater than the GRC guy. Everyone has to work hand in hand to secure an organization. If everybody is hacking and there is nobody doing the GRC aspect of things, that organization will still not function properly, because the GRC guys put things in order to ensure that there are policies, there are processes, there are procedures in place, and the technology is working fine. And then the hacking will come in from the point of, okay, let's break in to see if some things still need to be done. Let's see if the GRC guys still need to do some more work and work with the team to fix vulnerabilities and things like that. So everybody work hand in hand eventually when it comes to cybersecurity. One person is not greater than the other. Everyone have to, like, there's always a handshake between the red team, the blue team, the purple team, all like that. So that's it for me. And since then, it's been an interesting experience. I've moved out of Ireland now. I'm in the United Kingdom. I'm based in Manchester, and I mean, the journey continues for me. I still I have a lot of plans for 2022. Bigger plans than what I've even done in 2021. I believe that with what I can do and with the support of people, we'll get more people to get into this field, because aside the money, there's a respect, there's a recognition. I mean, there's a lot to benefit from being a cybersecurity professional.
That's awesome. And I feel like there's just so much to talk about there. I mean, it's so cool that you were able to go from, you know, just really trying to break into the industry. And now, I mean, you're really a force. Yeah. You know, like you're guiding more people into the industry. And it didn't take that much time. I mean, we're talking about over the course of 7-8 years, right?
Yeah.
And you know, what's been, you know, some of the greatest challenges, and then what are, you know, some of the greatest lessons learned along that journey?
Yeah, good question. Challenges. The truth is that I've actually faced challenges. Like I was saying in a session I had over the weekend, I was telling someone that there were days that I was actually depressed, days that I won't feel like going to work. I mean, days that I feel like this is too much. I mean, if you've worked in consulting, you would have a feel of what I'm saying. As a consultant, even when you don't know it, you are always introduced as a subject matter expert. What that means is that you have to live up to it. You have to learn it. You have to know it. So as a consultant, you're always on your toes all the time. So I faced a lot of challenges, and what I can say is that what it helped me to do was to improve myself. Because if a client comes to me and say, I don't understand what you just said, what do I need to do for the client to understand? I need to do more research on my part. I need to be able to break it down to how the client will understand it. So for me, I turned my challenges into a learning path. So for everything I don't understand, I had to go back to do more work. And then for clients that were a bit difficult, because the truth is that not every client is going to be the same. In the journey as a cybersecurity consultant, you're going to face the very tough clients, the difficult ones, the ones that would make it look like you're going to be having headache and all of that. I had to learn how to manage people. I had to learn how to talk to people about my challenges and what they could, the kind of advice I could get from them. So for every challenge I had, I mean, I had to just walk through it. And if it was becoming very difficult for me, I leave maybe the job or the situation. I know it's not always that easy, but the truth is that as a cybersecurity professional, to your mental health matters a lot. You have to think about yourself. If you feel that this is too much for you, is more than what you can handle, then you have to think about what you need to do to be able to get yourself out of that situation if you can no longer handle it. So for me, the first thing is always, how can I handle this situation and turn some of these challenges to opportunities, or to get myself better. Lessons learned. You learn, that's it. You will always learn. I mean, you learn on the job, you learn outside of the job and things like that. I've learned a lot of lessons. One of the most important things that I always tell people that are trying to get into cybersecurity is connect. Get into communities on time. One of the reason why I take mentorship serious now, why I want to mentor people, is that possibly if I had someone to mentor me when I started, I would have done more things than I'm doing right now. I would have branched out into different other areas and things like that. But I mean, I got in and I was just doing it based on the organization I was working in. So I tell people, if you're going to get into cybersecurity, talk to people, connect with people, speak to people if they're in your area of interest. It's an advantage for you. Learn from them. Get mentors. Get people to guide you. Be accountable. Have people that you are accountable to from time to time. So those are lessons that I learned that if only I had that, it's not a regret for me, because even though I didn't have that, I was able to walk through a lot of things by myself and get to the level that I'm in today. But for people that are just starting, it's a lesson for them. Have people join communities. There are a lot of communities out there. In the UK, in Ireland, there are cybersecurity communities. I'm sure in the US too, I see a lot of posts from the US cyber communities and things like that. In Nigeria, there's a lot. There's a lot also that people can tap into. So the country that you are in, look out for the communities in the country that you are in and try as much as possible to be a part of these communities. Me, you are learning cybersecurity, you sign up to me, and you are on it every day, trying to do a lot of work just to be that very badass hacker. You still need someone that would guide you and put some things into perspective for you, so that eventually you are not making a mistake in your journey. I mean, you need people that will guide you, people that have gone that same path, and what are the things that they've learned, how can you improve yourself and all of that. What are the resources that you need to be reading while breaking in and all of that. What are the books that you need to be reading? What are the courses you need to be taking? What certification do you need? All of those things, somebody will be able to put you through and give you what you need to know. So I think for me, mentorship is very important, guidance, communities. So those are lessons that people that are getting in now can learn to improve themselves in the journey.
That's fantastic. And I think that you just kind of unleashed like a whole load of wisdom. Like there's so much to learn from all of that. And I couldn't agree anymore. On you know the cybersecurity scene in Nigeria, you mentioned, you know, you started in 2013, and you know, when did you move to Ireland again?
I moved 2019.
2019. How was the cybersecurity, you know, industry in Nigeria evolved in that time? And same with like Ireland, and you know, you were in the UK, you know, for your master's. You know, how have you seen, you know, the cybersecurity industry evolve and the communities within, you know, kind of develop over time?
Yeah, so I would say that when I did my master's, cybersecurity was not as pronounced as it is now. At that time, even though I'm sure the UK would have started a lot of things around IT security, infosec, and all of that, but it was not this pronounced. Now in the UK, for example, if you go to any of the job boards, Indeed, for example, or Total Jobs, and you make a search on information security jobs, the results are always massive. What that means is that they've created a lot of opportunities around cybersecurity roles, infosec roles, and all of that. Same thing with Nigeria. When I started in Nigeria, I mean, even when we go to some of the clients to tell them that they need to be secure, we can do ABC for them. Some of them didn't believe in cybersecurity. They just feel like, what is this? I mean, we are okay. We have the IT guys, we have our network, we have firewall, we have all of those things. So what do you mean by we should be extra secured and all of that? But now, the jobs are out there because these organizations now see a reason why they need cybersecurity. It's in everybody's faces. You don't even need to look so far before you see that there's a new cyber attack or there's a data breach and things like that. So if an organization don't even want to get secured, I mean, time we catch up with them and something would happen, they'll be breached. So they need to even work towards securing themselves, securing their posture and all of that. So I think a lot of things have changed from the time, even when I left Nigeria up until now. There's a lot more demand. There are a lot of opportunities. Internship positions are available for people. Entry-level jobs are available. I know some people right now that are starting in some entry-level roles in Nigeria, cybersecurity. More experienced, advanced roles are available. Now, before now, you would see that in cybersecurity, maybe mostly the GRC side of things, the guys that do the ethical hacking, web application, and all of that. But now you see that SOC is becoming a big thing. Like people now understand that they have to have security operations center, whether internally or outsourced. They need to ensure that they are checking what is happening when it comes to responding to incidents, analyzing it, and things like that. Now, another is threat intelligence. Before now, nobody is really bothering about what are the likely threats or the possible threats. Do we need to analyze these threats? What are the things that we need to be wary about? What is that malware and things like that? But now, You see organizations having people, what they just focus on is threat intelligence. They call them threat intelligence analysts. They want to understand what the threat landscape is like. What are the things that are possible potential threats that would affect the organization? What are the attacks that their competitors are facing, so that they can also work towards it, so that they won't face the same thing and things like that. So you see that cybersecurity is now becoming broader than what it used to be in the past, whereby it could have just been maybe the GRC side of things or the guys that are hacking. But now there are a lot of branches coming out of cybersecurity. And what that means also is more opportunities, more jobs for people, more potentials for people. People can decide to go different paths. So like I said, you don't have to say that I have to be a pen tester or I have to be a GRC person. You can think about the other areas too and say, oh, this is actually my strength. I'll do well in this area and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's so cool to see kind of like things develop over time and see people, more people kind of, see the threats as you mentioned. And, there's like the big headline attacks, but then there's also those day-to-day, smaller incidents that can lead to bigger events. You mentioned you went into consulting with Deloitte. How did that also really kind of impact your cybersecurity journey? Did it speed it up? Did it, or did it really just kind of change the direction at all? What was learning in that kind of an environment like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I would say that Deloitte actually, it's had a huge impact on my journey until date. I mean, for every time I tell someone that I've worked with Deloitte, they just want to, there's this name attached to it. And I usually tell people that if you have an opportunity to get in, just get in. Even if you want to use 1 year, 2 years, whatever number of years, get in. It's going to change your life for good. And that's what it did to me. One of the things about working there for me back in Nigeria was that it's increased my confidence level. That's what I'm going to say. I mean, I had to anchor meetings where the top guys were there, C-level guys. And then my manager would say, you would lead this meeting today. So at that point, what am I going to do? I have to just brace up and ensure that I do it, anchor the meeting. And I mean, you have to do it up to standard, because there's one thing about working in Deloitte. One of the things about your KPI is that you should be able to bring in repeat business. Even if you can't bring in the repeat business completely, you must have, when you work on a client site, they must be happy to have you for other jobs just because of the fact that you've worked there. And it works for me. I work with some clients, and then when they need to do another job, the same job for the client, they'll tell the client that we want Ireti on that job. Not once, not twice. Clients were specifically requesting for me. So that shows that I'm doing something right. And I mean, for clients to be asking for me to work on a job for them again, it means that I've done something right. So I think for me, working in Deloitte was a game changer for me. It came with a lot of challenges I wasn't prepared for, to be honest, because I felt I could hide under the shadow of my manager and then she would take the lead. But I found that she pushed a lot of things to me, and eventually it helped me. It wasn't easy at first, but as time went by, I was able to adjust. One of the examples was that I even still tell her this example. I laugh about it. I mean, we were doing a job for a bank, a very big bank in Nigeria, and then we're supposed to have an awareness for them. So one of those days, my manager sent me a text that she would not be able to make it. And then she said, can you go take that session? I said, okay, fine. So I went there, and when I opened the room, I saw about 300 people there. It was like a church. I opened the door and my heart skipped a beat. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. And then it was my first time talking to that crowd, that type of crowd. I'd never in my career had to talk to that number of people before. And then I just walked in, and, I remember when you're doing presentation, you have to be very confident, give examples, look at their faces, just be very bold and things like that. So I just played all of that in my head, and I started the discussion, and it went really well. And then they gave very good feedback. So for me, it was more challenging because I had to take up responsibilities. I couldn't hide. Where I was coming from, I had the opportunity to hide. I was not really doing a lot of key sessions with top people and all of that. But when I moved to Deloitte, everything changed. It was a different ball game entirely.
That's awesome. And I love that, like, as you said, like your manager kind of, pushed you and pushed things to you to, be able to give you those opportunities to shine. Um, what's some advice that you have for people that might be new to that situation and they might be kind of freaking out, in that position that you were in where you walk in, you see everybody and they're like, uh-oh, uh, what's something that, can really help prepare them for those moments, give them that confidence so they can walk up, get in front of a crowd and, brief a bunch of people on, these projects?
Yeah, so what I would say is that for me, what I always say is that anyone can do cybersecurity. If you knew me 10 to 15 years ago, I can't even face you to talk to you. I was that bad. If I'm talking to someone, I will start trembling. I will start shaking. And I would be so scared. I was that bad. So what that means is that anyone can do cybersecurity. The only thing is that you must work on yourself. I started working on myself when I joined the first company. I made it a deliberate effort. In my past life, before I went for my master's, the first presentation I ever did, people were laughing. Everybody started laughing. It was so funny that I was disgraced. That's just the word. I didn't know how to make a presentation. I didn't know how to talk, face a crowd. I was shaking. My hands were shaking. My voice was shaking. People laughed at me. But look at me today. I don't think there's no one on earth that I can't face right now. As in, I don't know who it is. Even if you are the president of a country, and you want me to come and deliver an awareness, I will do just well. I will do just fine. Because I've worked on myself. I worked on my confidence. I worked on my presentation skills. I watched videos. I watched people. I mean, we go for meetings and I watch what people were doing. And I see that, oh, I can do this thing too. It just takes another level of confidence, but I would do it. And then I started practicing. When I got my first job, one of the things I had to do to get the job was to make a presentation. I stood in front of the mirror. I said everything I wanted to say. I, I did everything. I talked to myself. I called people to assess me. I was ready because I wanted that job really bad. I wanted it and I made sure I got it. And then when I got in, there were opportunities for me to go to schools to start to talk about cybersecurity. Before I left that company, I went to 3 schools and I did cybersecurity awareness for them. I talked in schools. So I used all of that. I kept building my confidence. I knew I could do it, but I needed to practice to get to where I wanted to be. So I kept practicing, trying everything. If I make mistakes, I pick myself again and do it. So just to be good at it. So my advice to anyone that is facing that challenge, you have to practice. You have to come out of your shell. If you stay in your shell, you will not go far. If in this cybersecurity career, you must face management. Whether you're in the industry, if you are not the management, you will face management. If you don't face management, it means you are still at a low level in your career, and that is the truth. Whether you're in the industry, whether you are in consulting, it will get to a point in your career, you'll be talking to C-levels. They'll be seated and you'll be presenting to them. When I was in the industry as information security manager, I would be in meetings, the CEO would be there, the CFO, the COO, the CIO, all of them will be there. And I'll be presenting to them. So there's no way you can escape it, whether industry consulting. If you are not yet the management, you will face them. And if you want to face them, you can't face them and be trembling. You can't face them and your voice will be shaking. I mean, you can't face them and you'll be stammering or stuttering. So you have to face them with good confidence. So what I tell people is you have to work on yourself, work on your presentation skills, make your presentation very simple, go straight to the point where you're making your points clear, talk clearly, let them hear what you're saying. You don't need to be afraid. Those people, my fear before was they are bigger than me. I mean, I'm not in their level. What if they ask a question I can't answer? But today, if you ask me a question I can't answer, I'll tell you, I'll get back to you. The heavens will not fall down if I don't answer your question. So I mean, it's just about confidence and getting yourself to that point whereby you can talk, because As a cybersecurity person, you can't escape it. You cannot.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, just dead on, especially with like presenting. And I mean, the point about, if you don't know the answer, just say, hey, I'll get back to you. And then definitely following up and getting back. I mean, that really makes a world of a difference. Um, how did your time in consulting and especially interacting with like C-levels with your clients, how did that, kind of prepare you for the management track, and how did that kind of like evolve your view of cybersecurity to that management level?
Yeah, so just like I said when you asked the previous question, I think consulting actually prepared me for all of that. If I started straight from the industry, first of all, I won't even be an information security manager. And that's the truth. Because I'll be put at the lowest level, maybe an analyst or something like that. Because I won't be able to prove to them that I can interact with both with the business at a lower level and the management at a higher level. So I think for me, consulting just puts me on that path. Another thing is that as a consultant, except you are entry-level consultants and the organization don't think you are good enough to stand in front of management to make presentations. But if you are not entry level and you're a consultant, you will speak to management. You can't escape it. And I will keep saying it. You cannot escape it. So if you're a cybersecurity person and you're afraid to talk, it won't be long. You'll be exposed. That's the truth. Whether you are the pen test guy, whether you are the threat intelligence person, whether you're the SOC person, whatever it is that you're doing, it won't be long. You'll be exposed, except you don't want to grow. You get to a certain level, you must present your reports. How do you want to present your reports when you're scared, or when you don't you can't talk properly, or when you can't present? You must face management. That is it. And I have examples. I have an example of we had a client, a very small client, like staff strength of say 30 to 40. I mean, and we were supposed to kickstart a project for them. I was working with Deloitte at that time. So my manager was meant to join me. The CEO was there. The CFO was there. Very small organization. And then some other people were in the room. My manager was meant to make that presentation. I was just meant to support her. I was waiting for her, and then I got her text. Irita, I'm in traffic. I cannot make this presentation. Please start it. I shook my head. I said, my goodness, CEO, CFO, all of them are there. And then I said, okay. So I just told them, I faced them and I said, my manager would not be coming in early enough. So I'm going to start this presentation. And I opened the slide and I started it. And it went well. And I gave her the feedback that they're happy with it. We're going to start the project and things like that. So imagine you have to prepare as a consultant. For every time you go for meetings, you must prepare. Prepare yourself as if you are the one that will present. If you don't prepare, you are going to fail. You must prepare yourself for every meeting you go for. And I think that I always say that in this cybersecurity journey, if you are just starting, please try to taste consulting. It is good for your career. Taste consulting. If you want to rise quickly, taste it. Even if it's for a year, make sure that you taste the consulting side of things, because it will help you. If you're in the industry, you may not get that enough opportunities to face a lot of people and speak about what you've done, or about your reports, about your work and things like that. But if you're in consulting, you will never escape it. You talk to your clients, you will do awareness. I do a lot of awareness. I stay in sessions 2 hours, 2 hours, 30 minutes. I do a lot of things. Exercises, business continuity exercises. I'm always there with the clients. If I'm in meetings, 3 hours meetings, risk assessment meetings, I'm there with the clients. And that is the power of consulting. You will do all of those things, you will improve your knowledge. Try to taste consulting side of cybersecurity. It will help your journey. It will help your confidence a whole lot. It will help you.
That's fantastic. And it makes me think about, I listened to an interview, I think it was Hacker Maker with Philip Wiley and Dave Kennedy. And Dave Kennedy mentioned, he did consulting for about 5 years, and same thing, he recommends it so big time, right? Like, just, you'll learn so much, you'll learn by the fire hose, by nature of the job, project to project, it's going to be teaching you all kinds of different things, as opposed to if you're just like in a static position as like an analyst, right? And so I think, you know, it definitely mirrors up, and I think, you know, it's awesome, right? So you mentioned after that, you know, you got into the management side, right? How did your experience on the management side kind of impact or influence, you know, your view not only of the cybersecurity industry as a whole, but also about leading people and leading those presentations, now that, you know, it's all on you, you know, it's not, you know,
Yeah.
managers in traffic, it's you. How did that go?
So it's a bit more difficult in the industry. And I would say that the reason why it's difficult is because in consulting, you will do things for the clients and you will leave. In the industry, you have nowhere to live to. If there's any mess, all of you will pack it together. If there's any issue, you are going to be at the forefront. If there's any attack, you will be at the forefront trying to manage things. If there's any situation, you have to be there. So it's a different ballgame entirely. When you're in consulting, after a while, you just work with the clients, clean the mess, and then you leave the place. But in the industry, you have nowhere to go. Also, you have to learn to manage people. If you have people that are not going to resign or that are not going to retire, whatever problem they give you, you must learn stakeholder management. It is very important. So one of the things that I had to learn in the industry is learn how people work. The pace at which people work is different. Some people work at a very fast pace. When you send them a mail, they get things done quickly, they get back to you. Some other people, when you send them something, they want to take their time and do it at their own pace. You have to understand how people work, the kind of the colleagues that you are working with. It is very important. And then I was doing a lot of things with the business. So information security, when you are doing it in the industry now, you have to you have to be friends with the business. It's very, very important. Very, very important. So I mean, everyone in the business, all the guys in operations, all the guys in customer service and other areas of the business, I made them my friends because that is the only way I could get their attention as to what we needed to do. If there's a breach in information security, before they blame the guy in operations, the information security manager is already taking the blame because there's this perception that probably you didn't do well enough awareness or you didn't onboard people properly or things like that. So to be able to take down your point to these people, you have to be their friend, you have to manage them properly, and then you have to be able to read the room. As in, it's not all the time that you have to force infosec down their throats. Business don't like to hear about infosec because they're always like, what is this? We have our work to battle with, and then you say we should do this, we should click this, we should sign that, and all of that. So you must be able to understand the room and how you can try to inculcate infosec without forcing them to do things. So I did a lot around stakeholder management when I got into the industry, and the consulting jobs prepared me for it. And then I have to also manage people at the top. So a lot of times meeting at the top, discussing vulnerabilities, discussing risk, discussing a whole lot of other things at high level. I had to also manage those people, manage their expectations, hear the feedback from the MD, what he wants to see and all of that. I had to be in a lot of vendor meetings. That is one thing that I didn't really do in consulting. In the industry, if a security tool would be purchased, the infosec manager must be there. If any security, anything that has to do with security if it's going to be purchased, infosec manager has to be there. If it's a technology tool, because you need to understand what the security requirements are, the infosec manager must be there. So I was in a lot of meetings, a lot of vendor meetings. I also need to understand, I needed to understand how some of those things were done because it was new to me. In consulting, I didn't have to be in any of those meetings, but in industry, I had to be in those meetings. So it was a little bit new to me, and I enjoyed them because it gave me another level of understanding of some of those things. Then I had first-hand experience of using some tools. In consulting, maybe not because I was just doing GRC and supervising and ensuring things were done. But in the industry, I had to use some of those tools. So for example, I had to use a SIM tool. for event management, gather logs and all of those things. I also had to do a lot of reporting around the same tools. What are the potential attacks, all of those things that we were seeing. What is the inside potential threats and all of that, a lot of threats gathering and intelligence. Also, I had to use the vulnerability scanner tool. I had to do vulnerability scans and all of that. In consulting, I didn't have to do that because I was just focused on the GRC aspects. But that also exposed me to a lot of interesting things. I saw a lot of things. I was able to report and explain by myself and do a lot of other things. So it was two different things for me, but I got along pretty well, even while I was in the industry.
That's awesome. And I mean, it sounds kind of like it's still like learning from a fire hose, but in this case, it's, kind of a different angle. Like you said, now it's in the industry, the buck stops with you, full send, can't necessarily just bounce to another project. It's, I mean, like you said, like it's all there. That sounds intimidating. How did you, manage that transition and, the start and, how did you kind of manage that, I guess stress as you're kind of going through with that role?
I didn't get that. How did I manage?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. How did you manage like the stress while you were in the role, and how did you kind of manage that transition from consulting to management whenever you first bounced over?
Yeah, so just like I've said, it wasn't a very easy transition because I mean, I was going into a different it was the same infosec, but a different angle entirely. So the transition was not so easy. But what helped me, like I said previously, is that because I already had the consulting experience. See, the truth is that industry may not be as, or I don't want to speak for every industry, but the stress level in industry may not be as high as what you face in consulting. That's the truth. Because in consulting, you find yourself that you are managing maybe multiple organizations. But in industry, you're just focused on one. And you just want that organization to be up and doing. You don't want them to be caught in any attack. But as a consultant, you may be managing 3, 4 at the same time. So it's a different ball game. And because I've had that experience of managing multiple organizations, it was one of the things that helped me when I moved to the industry. I understood that, look, this organization that I'm in, it's my responsibility to make sure that they don't face any security breach. It's my responsibility to make sure that their applications and other assets are secured. It's my responsibility to make sure that we do assessment from time to time on different security solutions and tools, and also their security posture. So I knew that, and then I was able to like manage, have a calendar by myself that was using to manage all of these activities. So for me, the transition was more of going from a very stressful and tense work that I've done in the past to a more relaxing, but this time focusing on just one company. That was the transition for me. But making sure that that one company I'm focusing on gets the best out of me.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I mean, it's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed, but I mean, it does make sense that consulting would get pretty, pretty stressful balancing multiple different companies all at the same time. You mentioned after, some time doing the management side, you jumped over to the mentorship side, and that's where you are right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. And I feel like it's kind of like it goes full circle. It ties it all together, right? Where, you start, you're learning everything, and now you're able to teach people that are also trying to get their start.
Yeah.
How rewarding has that been? And, what are some of the challenges that you see people trying to break into cybersecurity today that may have not been around whenever you were trying to break in back in 2013?
So good question. I think the one of the challenges I see now for people that are trying to break in is that a lot of people don't even do their initial research. So they just see a tweet, cybersecurity, and then they just say, oh, because it's cybersecurity, I'm interested. If you're interested in cybersecurity, read at least something about it. If you ask some people what is cybersecurity, they don't know. So why are you interested in something you don't know about? You just find it to be a very fancy word, or because other people are doing it. So for people that are trying to break in, I feel that it's very important to carry out your first research. What is cybersecurity? What are the areas in cybersecurity? What are the things I can do in cybersecurity? What are the kind of trainings I can do? You don't need to have all the answers, but show interest by doing a research, and then come to someone that can guide you with the answers that you need. If you check my pinned tweet today, and that was why I made that tweet, I just, a lot of tweets have been seen. I bookmarked them, and then I copied everything under that pinned tweet, so that when you come to my DM now and you say you want to do cybersecurity, I refer you there. When you've done that extensive research on my pinned tweets, if you have other questions, then you can ask me. If you are not clear on anything, or if there's anything that a question you want to ask and is not answered in that tweet, then ask me. But I can assure you that if I refer you to that pinned tweet, it would have covered a lot of areas, because that tweet covers career, covers people that are just starting, covers communities, covers a lot of things around hacking, Python, blue team, those that don't have tech experience and things like that. People that are just breaking into cybersecurity without experience, all of that. So there's a chance that you fall into one category as a beginner. Either you don't have a tech background, you'll find the answer on my pinned tweet. Either if you're interested in blue team, you'll find the answer on my pinned tweet. If you're interested in pen testing, the answer is there for you. If you want to learn Python, it's there for you. If you don't know the career path, it's there. Communities is there. People that do cybersecurity is there. So all of that. So if you go through that tweet, it's just a start. And this is for people that can't do their own personal research. Now, from there, you can now say, okay, what are the trainings that I need to take? What are the certifications that will benefit me in this field? What is my interest? What do I want to do? And I tell people, if you want to know your interest, what is your strength is the first question. So if you come to me and you say that I'm very good in assessing and analyzing risk. I know how to identify risk. I've worked in operational risk management and things like that. I will mostly advise you to do GRC, because you thrive in GRC. GRC is governance, risk, and compliance. You will do well in identifying risk. You will do well in identifying vulnerabilities and things like that. If you tell me that you have good strength in IT, you are the network guy, maybe your organization, you understand IT, you've done a lot around application support and all of that, I can tell you to try to go a little bit more technical. Take some courses in network security, enhance your skills in network security, and see how you can leverage on that, because you already have the background that would help you in that area. If you tell me that you like talking, you go to places and people want to hear you speak, you know how to put your thoughts into words, you are good with creating content and all of that, I'll tell you to do awareness and training, because you will do well in that aspect. You'll be able to put your thoughts together, sell what you have to people. If you tell me that you are very good with research, you can stay a whole day on the internet, researching different things in cybersecurity, the kind of attacks that happen. I'll tell you to think about threat intelligence, because you may be able to gather a lot of information about threats, know how to analyze the information, or give people that can analyze for their own actionable things that they want to do. So what that means is that my first question to you would always be, what area are you good at? What is your strength in cybersecurity? Not even cybersecurity. What is your natural strength that we can leverage on so that you can have a good career in cybersecurity? If you don't understand programming, if you've learned programming over and over again and it never stuck, if you don't have anything to do with programming, why do you want to go into an area that has to do with programming? Because you may not even get past understanding it. Why can't you go for other areas where you don't need to write codes? So people need to understand, do the initial research, and also leverage on their strengths so that they are not stuck, and so that they can do something that will be worthwhile eventually. The truth is that there's no super person in cybersecurity. I won't say because someone is always identifying gray hats, always identifying vulnerabilities and things like that, is the best person in cyber. And I won't say because someone is only updating policies, they don't know what they are doing in cyber. There's nothing like that. everyone complements one another. So you just understand your strength and leverage on it.
Yeah, and a couple things from that. One, the pin tweet, like the thread that you mentioned, it really is just a very thorough and exhaustive like list. There's so much in there. It's like such a valuable thread. So absolutely, there's going to be a link down the video description for this. Everybody definitely check that out. And then I love that you kind of mentioned, what are your natural skills? What are your natural passions outside of cybersecurity? Because, you're totally right. It all complements one another, and not all of it is necessarily like technical, not all it's programming or hacking. Like GRC is just as important, because you got to have policy. Companies will probably be looking at that before they're looking at a cool tool. And it all holistically fits into this one kind of symbiotic relationship, to try to, I guess I was about to say like fight evil, defend against, attacks on the internet, right? um I think that that's a lot. I think you've uncorked a lot of wisdom here, and this has just been super awesome. Before we kind of wrap it up, I see that you're a Chelsea fan. Why is it that Chelsea will never be able to beat Liverpool?
Why is it that? What
Chelsea
did you
will
ask?
never be able to beat Liverpool.
Oh God. Are you a Liverpool fan?
My brother is like a diehard Liverpool fan, so I kind of watch from the side. So I'm kind of, I gotta side with him on that one.
I agree. I agree with you. So Chelsea is what should I say now?
I'm
I
just
would just
messing with you.
I would just say that we are I'm seriously hoping that Chelsea would win the league this season, because I mean the efforts from the start, even though the team is a bit shaky now, but I hope that they can pick up and make us proud. And hopefully you join Chelsea too.
Hey, at least it's not Manchester. I mean, if it were Manchester, there'd be a problem. But okay. Thank you again. I really appreciate your time. This has just been super, super awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching again. If you're watching this right now during the premiere or during the week of publishing, remember that this next Monday we will be live again. And if you're watching this on the replay again, Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern, check it out. We have all kinds of awesome interviews there. See ya.